last week, so Grace. And one of the most impressive players in the Perth Glory side this season, according to Stephen Peters, is Sarah O'Donoghue. He has been so proud of her development this season, coming off a brace last week against the Mariners, grabbed an assist as well in that 3-all draw in Gosford. There's just one change for Western Sydney in their first match in a fortnight. That most recent battle was a 2-1 defeat in Wellington. Talia Yunus is back in the starting side for Ina Harada, who misses out on the matchday squad altogether. But have a look at that bench. There is some firepower there. Western Sydney's all-time leading goal scorer, Sophie Harding, and super sub Holly Caspers, who has 3 goals in her last 4 since returning from a toe injury. Sienna Silvesca has been one of the bright spots for Western Sydney this season. 7 goals for the campaign, including that hat-trick against Western United in December. She's also been called into Alex Eparkis' 25-player squad for the Young Matildas 9-day camp from the back end of March to early April. Alex Eparkis was the Perth Glory head coach before Stephen Peters, who said this week he's looking forward to the challenge of facing a team he knows very well, having coached or coached against a majority of these Wanderers in the NPL competition in Sydney. 3 of Western Sydney starters, Karmas, McComiskey and True, were part of his championship-winning MacArthur Rams side last season. Beck Mackey taking charge of this fixture. She was actually in charge last time Perth beat Western Sydney in 2022 in Gosford. And that was where Deborah Ann Della Harp's goal just after half-time was the difference between the sides. Jeff Abraham's first game as permanent head coach of Western Sydney. That was announced yesterday. He took over from Robbie Hooker in January, who departed for personal reasons, and he is contracted now until 2026. So Western Sydney are out on the field waiting as Perth Glory get their final instructions from Stephen Peters. And they know they are still a finals chance. They have got home matches today against Western Sydney, Canberra next week, and then Melbourne City in the final match day of the season. An away clash with Sydney FC in there as well. So if good enough, Perth Glory can put the pressure on the sides above them on the Ninja A-League ladder. You would think they're going to have to need to win at least 3 in a draw, or potentially all 4, being on 19 points. 31 points would be the result if they win all 4. So it's win or bust for Glory and Western Sydney. One will stay on the tightrope. The other's hopes will disappear into the Perth evening. And it's Perth Glory who have lost just 1 of their last 4 matches, surprisingly, against Newcastle, who have struggled this season but did catch a little bit of fire of late before that defeat to Melbourne victory last night. They've beaten Wellington and Western United over the last 4 matches, and that draw against the Mariners last week, where they led, then came from behind before equalising late on. Tian McKenna's first A-League women's goal, the equaliser in stoppage time. Western Sydney, meanwhile, have also been in a decent run of form, halted by Wellington a fortnight ago. 2-1 they lost there after 3 wins on the bounce. Holly Caspers playing a key role in all 3 of those victories. But it's Perth Glory here through Megan Wynn, just getting on the outside of Buchanan, who concedes the throw in. The referee saying that the ball had actually crossed the byline, so it will be a Perth Glory corner. Lovely little ball in behind, wasn't it, from O'Donoghue? It's in terrific form. So here it was, Buchanan, as though she'd done enough there, but it is a corner for the returning Brown to curl in. And Sham Karmas just giving the eyes here. And it's Chinema who is slow to her feet. Here it was. Chinema is basically headbutted the shoulder blade, you would say, of Sham Karmas. And that's not an area of the body you want to hit with your head. Very challenging here for the Perth Glory defender. Here it was. Very hard part of the body, really bony, that shoulder blade, and that looks as though where she's collected Chinema. Sham Karmas hasn't done anything wrong in that situation. I think we may have heard someone in the effects mic say this could be a problem. Well, yeah, it will be a little bit of a problem for Stephen Peters, because Chinema and Zog have been the cornerstone of Perth Glory's defence this season. And that centre-back combination. So Chinema just leaving the field for the moment. He would have to reshuffle things a little. He's got Izzy Folletta on the bench in terms of a defensive replacement. And it looks as though Chinema will be fine to continue, which is a relief for Perth Glory. First season at the Glory after 4 seasons with Melbourne City. Vastly experienced player at just 20 years of age. So McComiskey's pass just shut down, and Matos has to find Karmas. Now a heavy touch which is pounced on from Eunice into the box. And the dink away was decent enough from Western Sydney, but Perth Glory applying a lot of early pressure here, as you would expect, being the home team, trying to assert their authority on the contest, but True trying to apply press of her own here for Western Sydney. Seveska as well forces the errant pass. This is Chisari. And now Price. Zog away momentarily for the Glory. Captain Harrison with some time to pick that pass, but it broke down for Western Sydney. Grace Johnston has been one of the standouts this season for Perth Glory. Overcame an ankle injury midway through last year, that syndesmosis, that dreaded syndesmosis injury. Some time in the young Matildas as well in 2024. On the way to this most consistent A-League women's season. That is a delivery which is going to land on the roof of the net from Kush LaRue. Outpacing McKenna, but bring it back to cause some problems. It was challenging as well, because you can see the breeze behind Western Sydney in this first half. So you can see Grace Johnson, she's playing a little deeper tonight with Kelly Brown back in the team. She was part of the front line last week against the Mariners. Nigerian international Zog across to Chinema. He returns it to Zog. That is A rare poor moment from the Nigerian international. Not linked with Johnston, just invites a bit of pressure here, which immediately disappears. So this head-to-head, very tight between Perth and Western Sydney. 22nd meeting tonight. Perth lead at 10-9. A couple of draws. Just the second draw in this rivalry came earlier in the season, in December. Kelly Brown's 96th minute penalty cancelling out Amy Harrison's opener 5 minutes from time.
No worries. There's some over there.
So the goals came late on that occasion. And you feel with so much at stake in this one, it's going to be a really tight one. Early goal would be so crucial in cracking this one wide open. Glory captain Dalton looking for an option. O'Donoghue's touch into the path of Rue. Now Buchanan. Chisari. Nokomiski. Addison Nokomiski, part of Stephen Peters' MacArthur Rams championship winning side. She's been a key plank in that side over the last 3 seasons, where he's coached the Rams to successive championships. Northern Tigers they beat in 2022, and then Bulls Academy in 23. And this year against Apia Leichhardt, 2 of those 3 wins on penalties. With that 2-0 win over the Bulls Academy in 2023, sandwiched in between. Chinema. And return from Dalton to McKenna. Megan Wynn was just crunched in there, and Rue comes away limping. Dalton almost got it through the Wanderers' back line, which would have opened things up a little for Wynn and O'Donoghue. Wasn't to be, though. Seveska tried to let the ball do the work, but it's turned over to Perth Glory. Tatham. And Wynn. Dalton. Wanderers asking for the offside. The strike is beaten away by Karmas. They may get another opportunity here to recalibrate and go again. Wynn wants an option. Eventually finding Tatham. Welsh international Megan Wynn. Really looked dynamic in recent weeks.
It's in the, you got the boom thing.
McKenna's delivery over the top. O'Donoghue, little chip and chase, and comes out and collects Karmas and gives away the free kick. So he was the strike from Tatham. Always going to be hard to beat a goalkeeper of Sham Karmas's quality. And then O'Donoghue coming through and collecting Karmas. So free kick has been awarded here to Western Sydney. The contact on Eunice. So Talia Eunice, Sienna Seveska, Millie Bennett, all included in that Young Matildas March, early April 9-day training camp, with Alex Aparkas taking charge, taking over from Leah Blaney, who's gone into the Japan setup. So his first window with his Young Matildas squad as he builds towards that 2026 Under-20 Asian Cup. Here's Eunice right now. Good pressure. Matos. Saveska looking for a window she could find. It was closed off by Cassidy, but there's a corner on the way now for Wanderers. She's a wonderful technician is Sienna Saveska. That hat-trick against Western United in December. 7 for the season. So the corner is a short one. Saveska just stabs it into the box. Well held up. Back to Price, who's curling the delivery. Chinamar did enough, but Western Sydney now through Bronte True. And it just never was going to drop for the 22-year-old who scored 2 in the last 3. Another one of those players I mentioned that was part of Stephen Peters' championship-winning side with Macarthur Rams this season after she joined them from South Coast Flame. Had a terrific season in the NPLW New South Wales and now finding some form in the national competition. The former Matilda Harrison dropping it back for Sham Karmas. Johnston on the stretch, able to track it down. Slipping it in front of Wynn, who's moved across to the right. Delivery is decent, but the Perth Glory players were just stationed either side of the fall. And in the end, the chance goes begging. But Perth are still really probing. Kelly Brown, just a little too far in front of O'Donoghue. But Megan Winner, terrific work down the right. And I'm told by Perth Glory coach Stephen Peters that Wynn, you can see here, creating this opportunity, just lands in between Brown and Tatham. But Megan Wynn, for the vast majority of probably the first 4 months of the season, she's had inflammation in the knee that she's had to deal with, and it's only been in the last few weeks that she's gotten over that. So she's looking a lot freer and able to accelerate a lot easier than what she had to go through earlier in the season. Yet to score in her first season in Australia, and did miss the first part of the season with that broken wrist as well. So it's been a little in the wars, but you feel like her best football is coming at the right end of the season for Perth Glory. That is Megan Wynn. Putting the pressure on Eunice here. Charging towards McComiskey. Western Sydney may just have unlocked Perth Glory. Passes wide for True. There's some numbers in the middle. That was comfortable for Zog. Matos, the all-time leading appearance maker for Western Sydney Wanderers now in the A-League Women's. 86 matches for them. Olivia Price, second with 84. Amy Harrison's pass. Able to pick those passes through the midfield nicely, but in the end it's Matos, and the bouncing ball, which just eluded her. Grace Johnson just getting some instructions from Stephen Peters. Just wonder as well what he might be looking for her now that she's dropping a little deeper in this match. In comparison to that last match against the Mariners. Now, I believe Beck Mackey wants this throw taken a little further back by Megan Wynn. We're ready to go now. We'll throw up the line from Wynn. And again here for Tatham. Eunice to show a bit of footwork on O'Donoghue, but was out-muscled. Tatham looking for the delivery. Matos shut down the opportunity. Johnston. And now with Cassidy on return from that quad injury. Linking with McKenna. Trying to drive that ball into the heart where Kelly Brown was situated, but Western Sydney able to break it down. Did look promising there for Perth Glory. Matos just drawing a little bit of a foot race there between Zog and True. It was Zog who won out. It's going to be a Western Sydney throw. Shoalhaven Jr., Bronte True there. Played NPL with the Illawarra Stingrays in South Coast before joining Macarthur. Now in her first season in the A-League Women's. Matos's cross. Bouncing awkwardly past Kelly Brown. Buchanan showing some footwork, the centre-back. Places the cross. What a delivery that was from Ella Buchanan. And Sienna Silvestre will be wishing she could have converted this opportunity. It was difficult on the volley. And maybe had a little bit more time than what she first thought. Potentially could have tried to bring it down. But it was excellent build-up work from the centre-back, Buchanan, who debuted in the A-League Women's in February of 2024. And consistent for them this year, starting 13 of her 14 matches. Comiskey. To Karmas. So if you have just joined us and you're wondering the implications of this match at the moment, basically Perth Glory, 4 matches to go this season, including this one. Western Sydney, 5 matches to go. If they want to keep their finals hopes alive, either of these sides, it's win or bust. Even a draw tonight would sink Western Sydney. Perth, well, they'd need 3 wins from 3. So much riding on this round 20 clash at the Sam Kerr Football Centre. And Perth, have they won themselves a corner here? Well, hang on a second. Is Kelly Brown just standing there saying to the referee, well, Kelly Brown just stood there and said to the referee, well, hang on, it's crossed the line. And the referee said, well, no, it hasn't. all of the ball hadn't crossed the line. That was one of the most bizarre moments you'll see. Now, Olivia Price is slow to her feet in the Wanderers midfield. She's back up now limping. Bronte True takes off. What a run this is. Linking with Eunice, returns it to True. A slip from Chinema very nearly opened the door for Western Sydney. Gee, that was hard in the mouth stuff for Perth Glory. Meanwhile, at the other end, it's Megan Wynn. A lot of action in the last couple of minutes to keep track of. Here was the slip. Well, that is miraculous work from Chinema. Wonderful dexterity from the slip to then get the boot up to clear it out of immediate danger. So Megan Wynn's long throw, dealt with by Western Sydney. They would have had that on the tip sheet tonight, but it could be coming back with interest. Wynn's delivering, blocked off by Matos. And it is a Wanderers throw. Now, based on Talia Eunice's reaction, she thought it was a Perth Glory throw as well as the Perth Glory players. That definitely will be a Wanderers throw. Chinema using Casey Dumont. Hasn't had much to do tonight, the Perth Glory goalkeeper. First goalkeeper in Ninja A-League history to 150 appearances. She's up to 163 tonight. Price and Seveska's delivery, and it was a challenging one for Casey Dumont. That right knee heavily strapped, as you can see, and it was just putting her on the stretch there. Johnson tipping the flick on, got it away from Matos. That one was almost into your living room. Yeah, so Perth Glory currently with a point from this match on the live ladder sit 5 points outside the top 6. A win tonight puts them just 3 points away from the top 6, so that would just be a win outside. They would have played 2 more matches than Brisbane Roar, but the way Brisbane are performing at the moment, they've got Adelaide tomorrow, Melbourne City, Tatham, lovely pass, Kelly Brown, and it was blocked off by Amy Harrison. What a key involvement that was from the Western Sydney captain. Perth Glory's leading goal scorer this season, Kelly Brown, back after missing last week against the Mariners. It was a scuff shot, to be fair, but Amy Harrison was there to thwart Brown, and the Kiwi striker unable to convert. A good opportunity there for Perth Glory. So Georgia Cassidy back from that quad injury, and that is a good delivery. Flashing across the edge of the 6-yard box. Decision is a Perth Glory throw, so it will be the long throw exponent in Megan Wynn to go over and take. Off the head of McComiskey. So Wynn powering it into the box. Price's clearance away. So Western Sydney rolling up the sleeves. 4 out of every 5 tackles they're winning in this match. Stephen Peters would probably like to see a little bit more from his side in that area, winning those 50-50 contests. Chisari, that was neat footwork. Harrison always looks to have so much time on the ball. Is the 13-time Matilda. Such a vastly experienced player, having played in the NWSL and also in the Netherlands with PSV, before returning home to join Western Sydney back in 2022. Johnston. Cassidy. Tatham. Did she get the call from a teammate? Because Chisari was stalking her there and has earned back possession for Western Sydney. Johnston up the line in front of Brown. So chances for both sides in this match. Jeff Abraham's unimpressed with that decision from the referee for a Perth Glory throw on that occasion. First match for him as the permanent head coach of Western Sydney after he took over from Robbie Hooker in January. And he's got Western Sydney moving in recent weeks. 3 wins in their last 4, but defeat against Wellington in their last start. And those goals from the Phoenix came late on too. They were very, very close, Western Sydney, to securing a first clean sheet of the season. And a 4th win in a row, which would have really kept their finals hopes probably a little higher than where they sit currently, requiring 5 wins from 5. You would argue to have any hopes of making that top 6. Matos's endeavour has earned her side a corner. Excellent work from the vastly experienced Matos, 25 years of age, already up to 87 Ninja A-League matches, and here she was, head-to-head here with Johnston. Powered up the line and cross out off Johnston for a Western Sydney Wanderers corner. Not too much breeze to speak of on this occasion for Price. And it's curling in rapidly there on Dumont. And Eunice thumps it way high and wide. Dalton just lost track of it. And Eunice beat Grace Johnston initially. Linked with Matos. Seveska put under pressure by Cassidy, and that was enough to draw the turnover. Here goes Tian McKenna. Scored the late equaliser off the assist of O'Donoghue last week. Win. Attempting to play in O'Donoghue. Win. O'Donoghue. Tries to find Monty Zog. Able to drive into some space here. Western Sydney have just left at the top of the 18-yard box. Now Johnston, great curl on the delivery, and somehow Perth Glory unable to scramble the ball over the line. O'Donoghue was having a lash in there, win as well. Great shape on the delivery. It was Dalton initially, then O'Donoghue came barreling through. And the desperation from Western Sydney there for all to see. They'll be very pleased to have Cassidy back for her set pieces on this edge. That left foot curler, it's dangerous again. And Sham Karmas has to dive on it. Chinamar making herself a nuisance once again. She just didn't get the purchase on the header. Now a chance for Western Sydney. Bronte True, is she going to make it 3 and 4? It is a tough angle because the cavalry has arrived for the Glory, but Matos is curling and it just drops outside the frame of the goal. Well, Bronte True showing her toe, getting in behind the Perth Glory backline. And that is a terrific avenue for Western Sydney to exploit if they can find that pass just in behind Chinamar and Zog. There is a significant pace advantage for True. Eunice. Calmly to Price. Neat turn from Jasari. Comiskey lays the 1-2. In behind again for Matos, who just couldn't catch up with it. Too much heat on it. Western Sydney just warming to the task here after they've had to defend for their lives. Matos, the only player of either side tonight that has appeared in every match, and every minute I should say, not every match, every minute for her side this season. Most minutes for Perth Glory is Nat Tatham. From her 19 appearances, 18 starts. Naomi Chinamar has started all 19, but substituted off on a couple of occasions. And as Zog clipped Bronte True here with a high boot potentially. That's what it looked on first glance.
Yeah.
It's hard to see from that angle because, of course, the camera blocked off by True. So a little bit of a high boot here. Yeah, certainly got a, maybe even the ball straight into the noggin. The boot certainly looked to hit True in the chest, but it looks as though she was grabbing it ahead. And both sets of players are going to have an impromptu drinks break. So the ball just gone up into a head here. Yeah, I think that's what the contact was that Bronte True's just feeling. Had that great opportunity moment to go just a little wide. Her angle to goal though. And the chance went begging for Western Sydney. But as you would expect in a match with significant implications for these two sides in their run into the finals, has been tight. Opportunities at a minimum. So while we do get a moment, that ladder situation now with the Mariners beating Wellington. So the Mariners up to 28 points. And they're in 5th place on the table. So they have almost punched their ticket to the finals. Western United 29 points in 4th. And then Adelaide, Victory and City, they'll all be there. But it really is Brisbane Raw. The low-hanging fruit, you would say, at the moment. 25 points at the base of the top 6. Canberra, that defeat today against Sydney, they're on 24. Wellington 23 after their loss today in Perth. A win today would push them up to 22. So it puts them within touching distance of Brisbane if their slide continues, the Raw. And Western Sydney a game further back. They've still got one more match in hand on Perth Glory because of that postponed fixture with Victory last week. Western Sydney, no doubt, will be extremely keen to get themselves away from the base of the table ahead of that Sydney derby next week. Both Sydney sides looking to avoid the spoon. Can you believe that? A spoon bowl derby could potentially be next week.
No, it's just VIP area.
Western Sydney, though, they'll be thinking positive thoughts, thinking that if they can win their last 5, well, they could pull off a finals miracle. A lot of water to pass under the bridge before then, though. As Tatham's attempted cross earns a Perth Glory throw. McKenna. And Harrison. Now's that pass to Silvestre, but Cassidy. Great pressure from Georgia Cassidy. Earns back possession for Perth Glory. Grace Johnson was making that run, attempting to run just in behind, but couldn't be found. Back with the Glory and O'Donoghue. Sending it wide for Tatham. Brown. And McKenna. O'Donoghue. Neat footwork on Chisari. Linking with Tatham. O'Donoghue. Now the strike just on the slip, though. It's always going to be difficult for Izzy Dalton. Not a bad opportunity for Perth Glory, but just the slip from Dalton. And it was almost impossible to score from that kind of distance. Good pressure, though, from McKenna. So final 5 minutes before halftime. It's the team from the west of Sydney travelling to the west coast of Australia to face Perth Glory tonight at Sam Kerr Football Centre. And that pass has been left short. Tatham. Natalie Tatham just looking for the opening. Decides to find Wynn. Places the cross. It beats everyone across the face of goal. Another half chance goes begging for Perth Glory. They've been really strong at home this season, Perth. Just the one defeat here at the Sam Kerr Football Centre, and that was in stoppage time against Melbourne Victory in December. 1-0 defeat when Alana Murphy scored from long range. Bronte True. Attempting to be out-muscled there by Cassidy. Ball comes back with interest. Zog drops it back to her defensive partner in Chinema. Oh, was there a push? Pretty clear in the end from Price. Price, vastly experienced in the A-League Women's. Grand final with Sydney back in 2016 in their 4-1 defeat to Melbourne City. Yet to win a title. Has made it to the biggest day of the season. Grace Johnson's curler. Well handled by Western Sydney. And now they'll get a relieving free kick. So I mentioned Megan Wynn away that free kick on Chisari, but she's been showing plenty of toe, getting herself about for Perth Glory, feeling a lot more free with that strapping away from the knee. She's just been dealing with a bit of inflammation for a majority of the opening few months of the season. Be a little bit tough with these harder pitches in Australia when you've come from playing in Europe. Cassidy driving it, looked to be into the back, unfortunately, of Tatham. Squeeze was trying to be applied there by Wynn and Tatham, but Western Sydney through Silvestre. Now Buchanan in a little bit of a tricky situation here with Wynn just nipping at her heels. Matos decides that best option is to launch it up towards True. Well, it's been Perth Glory controlling this match of late, but with nothing to show on the scoreboard. Western Sydney have had great chances as well of their own, and this may be another one on the counter-attack. Bronte True bearing down on goal and lifting it up and above the near post. So we should have at least a few minutes of stoppage time. I'm going to say at least 4. Had some stoppages in this first half. So chances for both sides to find a go-ahead goal in the shadows of half-time. Buchanan's cross up towards Eunice. And would you believe it, the referees have found only 2 minutes of additional time. We had that stoppage early on for a couple of minutes when Kelly Brown, I believe, was down, and then that other one just a few moments ago with Bronte True. So in the end, 2 minutes and 30 seconds has already elapsed of that. Still time if they're good enough. Brown and Dalton. Free kick for Western Sydney. I should say it wasn't Brown, it was Chinema. It was the head clash with the head into the shoulder blade of Sham Karmas in those opening couple of minutes. Stoppage lasted a couple of minutes. So important half-time team talks coming for both coaches here, because 3 points is the bare minimum. A draw and, well, it's basically going to come down to mathematics then for these two sides, and you don't want to be a side with just a mathematical possibility of making finals. Once you're getting into that territory, it's all done and dusted. And you could virtually say for Western Sydney, a draw will sink them, because they can only get to 28 points, 4 wins from 4, and well, the Mariners are already there in 5th, and Brisbane, they're 1 win away from 28. So it'd virtually be done. And that's why this second half, which is coming up on Paramount Plus, is so crucial for Jeff Abraham's and Stephen Peters' sides. Big team talk coming up here at halftime at Sam Kerr Football Centre. Perth Glory controlling most of it, creating the better of the chances. But at halftime, it's Perth Glory 0, Western Sydney Wanderers 0. And let's have a look at the best moments from the first half. And it was Western Sydney with the first big chance, and it was a lovely ball from Ella Buchanan. Just shaped it inside these centre-backs. Silvestre was just in a pocket of space there behind Chinema. Couldn't direct it on goal. But then it was Perth Glory. This was a big chance. Kelly Brown scuffed her shot, put off by the pressure of Amy Harrison. Some big, long strides there to get herself in front of Brown. This was a terrific delivery from Johnston, and then somehow you've got to credit the scramble of Western Sydney. Sham Karmas in there to smother the strike on goal from O'Donoghue. This was Bronte True showing her toe, getting in behind, but it was a heavy touch which took her wide of goal. And then Matos just curled wide. Nice shape on the strike. And the Silvestre chance and this True counter-attack, they were the two real gilt-edged chances for Western Sydney. Outside of those, there was very little to say for Western Sydney.
Terms of admission and the venue's condition of entry, including provisions relating to security screening and intoxication. Any spectator identified with a prohibited item or assessed as unduly intoxicated may be refused entry, evicted from the stadium, potentially banned from attending future matches, and handed over to police for further questioning. We ask you to respect your fellow spectators by refraining from illegal and dangerous activities. The A-Leagues, Professional Footballers Australia and Football Coaches Australia are taking a stand against online bullying in Australian football. There is no place for racism, abuse or hate in our sport. Play it fair. Unlock your ultimate A-Leagues club experience. The new official app is here. You can now select your favourite club and enjoy a club-first experience. Witness every moment with Matchday Live and so much more. Download the app today, and when you register, be sure to choose your favourite club to unlock your ultimate club experience. Find it on the App Store or get it on Google Play. You can make it with Ninja. Barbecues are better with electric grills that sear and char like a gas grill. Plus you can also barbecue smoke and air fry outdoors. Backyard bashes are better with pizza ovens that give you crispy crust, high heat roasting and barbecue smoking. No matter how you are spending your time outdoors, bring the indoors outdoors with Ninja. Get ready to cheer. Just like Liberty supports the A-Leagues, they're on your team too. Whether you're planning a holiday or buying a new home, they can provide the assist you need for free thinking goals. Liberty. Loans for free thinkers.
They scored the most goals in any match against league leaders Melbourne City last weekend, but Adelaide United still fell short and had their 11-game unbeaten streak snapped. On Sunday, though, the Reds entertain Brisbane Roar. Here is Narlene Masto and two-time Ninja A-League champion Teresa Police with their preview of the Coopers Stadium clash.
Adelaide United are hosting Brisbane Roar, and Teresa, the Reds would be a little bit disappointed that their unbeaten record snapped against Melbourne City, but they can take loads of positives from giving City a really tough test.
Absolutely. They stayed in the game. Their tenacity at this point in the season is vital, and anything can happen in finals. So they will be disappointed with a couple of the City goals that they let in, but it just shows there's still areas to improve. They've got a little bit of time before finals to tweak those areas, and I think they'll be confident to have another go at City come finals.
And an area they've been incredibly effective in is set pieces, particularly corners. We saw Ella Tonkin, Zoe Tolland as well on that score sheet. What makes them such a threat off set pieces?
Yeah, they're very aggressive on set pieces. Obviously, they've scored a few as well, so they've got that momentum going, and I think their positioning is on point as well, and they've got the belief now. Having already scored off set pieces, they've now been able to continue to do it. And when you look at their set pieces, they've got the number of their bodies in the box is also important and plays a massive role in terms of when that ball drops to the ground, someone's always in the area able to get onto it.
Brisbane will need to be switched on to make sure that isn't the case here, but they're also coming off a loss, and it's disappointing for the Roar given how well they were at the start of the season. A common narrative is that they're really letting their lead slip, particularly late in matches. What do you put that down to? Yeah,
they would be kicking themselves after that. They've dropped points again in a must-win, and it just adds pressure to them at the end of the day. So I think it's just still an issue of switching off at vital moments. We've seen that a few times this season where it's really, really hurt them.
And Tamika Yallop, the Matilda star, even though it was a disappointing result, she will walk away with a smile on her face because she became the second highest goal scorer in Ninja A-League history. What can some of the younger players in the squad learn from her experience, particularly when going through a bit of a rough patch?
Look, the list is pretty much endless there. She's one of the most experienced in the league ever. So a lot of it is about her energy. She has a calming presence on and off the field, and her experienced head around the place is contagious. So those youngsters would be learning so much of her week in, week out.
Well, of course, Adelaide's still firmly in that top four conversation, and Brisbane always a threat to go up against. It's live on Paramount Plus and 10 Play. Don't miss it.
Many of the Ninja A-League stars will tell you they have the best job in the world, but how do other people react when they find out about their football careers? Here's Perth Glory response in our latest episode of Ninja Express.
The Perth Glory have pulled off a miracle at the Sandkirk Football Centre.
The reaction that I get when I tell people that I'm a professional footballer is usually, that's cool, and then they follow up and ask, oh, who do you play for, what position, and how many times you train during the week. I have very few interactions like that, but yeah, it's funny to me because this is all I've known, so I forget that sometimes it is still a unique experience.
When I tell people I'm a professional footballer, they usually just look me up and down and nah, you're not. But nah, they're good vibes or anything. So.
The reaction that I get when I tell people I'm a footballer is usually, is it professional? Is it full-time? Do you get paid a lot? Usually all those ones, but yeah.
The reaction I get is usually just overjoyed because obviously I've been out of the game for a little bit, and then to come back, people are generally super excited for me, so it's really good.
I really don't tell people very much because I think it's still surreal to me that I get to do this for my job. I think being from the US, people are more intrigued as to why I'm living in Australia versus being a footballer. But a lot of curiosity just around it, but people are always excited for me.
Usually the reaction is positive. A lot of people either know of Perth Glory or are involved in it, so that's good, and it's good to have a positive reaction to what you do as a job, I guess.
The reaction I get when I tell people my main job is being a footballer A lot of them are very surprised and do the, "Are you serious?" But a lot of them also go, "What a life to have," and most of the time I'm happily agreeing with them because what a day job to have.
To cheer. Just like Liberty supports the A-Leagues, they're on your team too. Whether you're planning a holiday or buying a new home, they can provide the assist you need to get free thinking goals. Liberty, loans for free thinkers. You can make it with Ninja. Barbecues are better with electric grills that sear and char like a gas grill. Plus you can also barbecue smoke and air fry outdoors. Backyard bashes are better with pizza ovens that give you crispy crust, high heat roasting and barbecue smoking. No matter how you're spending your time outdoors, bringing indoors outdoors with Ninja.
Welcome back to Sam Kerr Football Centre here in Perth. A nice romantic evening, isn't it, for the fans here? Wanderers are looking for 5 consecutive wins to give themselves some hope of making it into the finals. Only ever made the finals once, which was back in that 1920 season. And they have won 3 of their last 4 matches. And they had some good chances in that first half to put themselves in front. Kelly Brown back from illness tonight. She had probably one of Perth Glory's best chances. So too Sarah O'Donoghue for Stephen Peters' team. And the players are ready to go. The referees were still in the dressing room. They're on their way out here now and ready to go for the second half. It was tight back in December. The goals came late on that occasion. It was Amy Harrison in the 85th minute opening the scoring for Western Sydney, then Kelly Brown equalising in the 96th minute with a penalty. Are we going to see something similar here tonight? Well, the goals are going to have to come in the second half now. So some kind of kick-off routine being discussed here by Western Sydney. Price, Silvestre, True, all standing around the ball here. Remembering they've got plenty of firepower too on their bench. So back underway in the second half. Western Sydney and Perth Glory locked at 0-0 here at Sam Kerr Football Centre in Perth. 45 minutes away from one of these two sides being able to say their finals dream is still alive, and the other starting to plan for next season. So Tatham earns the ball here for Perth Glory. Sends Wynn on her way down the right. Now Johnston's cross. Just in behind Brown. Deflection. Well, Brown has just landed a little awkwardly. She's grabbing at her ankle. Just came back into the side this week. They don't need her to be injured again. Now, Beck Mackey is calling a halt to proceedings, and she's going to check on the welfare here of Kelly Brown. Looked like the ball was just deflecting in here. It's just maybe an awkward landing there for Kelly Brown. Just stretching out that right calf / Achilles. Don't want to lose her. Scored a double in her last match in that 3-0 win over Western United on the 7th of March here at home. Western Sydney, terrific build-up down the left, shut down by Chinema. It was flowing so nicely for the visitors. Ball bounces out to Price. Buchanan. And Rue first time. Will be a fairly simple free kick in the end for Perth Glory. Tatham bundled over there by Chisari. True. Dropped it back to Eunice, who sent it over the top for Silvestre. And Casey Dumont with the cap on, just to deal with a setting sun in this second half. It's a little bit challenging with the sun coming from behind the grandstand. Chisari tried to wriggle away from O'Donoghue, who did enough and then almost won it back off Price. Looked to be a fairly sizable nudge from Tatham, but allowed to go on here. And Buchanan is out of play, so they're without a centre-back here, Western Sydney. Wynn is unmarked in the middle. But Tatham has just taken an age, and the chance has disappeared. McKenna finds Tatham. And Perth Glory from a real position there of promise, with Megan Wynn almost unmarked in the centre of the box. They're forced all the way back to Zog and having to recalibrate, set things up again. And they've gifted it back to Western Sydney. Well, you dally in this game and opportunities can just disappear like that. O'Donoghue Had a little more time. And what she thought, this was Tatham and Buchanan. Looked like too much in it. And in the end, the fact that Buchanan was out of play really presented that opportunity for Perth Glory. But as we saw, just unable to move that ball efficiently enough into the box, and Western Sydney able to scramble back and keep the score at 0-0. Remembering this season, Western Sydney are yet to keep a clean sheet. Are they a chance at keeping their first of the season tonight against Perth Glory? They've looked solid. Their last clean sheet was March 2024. Guess who it was against? You guessed it. It was Perth Glory. 1-0 win at Wanderers Football Park. Sophie Harding with the 53rd minute goal. Sham Palmers collects that cross comfortably. Sophie Harding on the bench tonight for Western Sydney. Hasn't had quite the season that she experienced last year. Scoring 12 times. Real breakout season for her, which ended up in a Matilda's squad as well. Here's a free kick for Olivia Price and Wanderers. Tatham legging her. Harrison. And McComiskey. It was an awkward ball over the top. Silvesca had time, the deflected strike. Perth scramble it away for the moment. Rue. Wide out on the angle. Silvesca. The former Phoenix player in Kushla Rue out of Bathurst in Western New South Wales. Chisari. Returning it to Rue. And Buchanan. It's high into the box. Dumont just leaving it for her centre backs to deal with, and Zog does exactly that. Brought down by Buchanan. Neat turn from Kushla-Rue. She's in behind McKenna. Places the cross into the box, and Talia Yunus was stooping on it. Couldn't get the purchase on the header. There's a little half opening for Western Sydney at the start of this second stanza. Yet to score in her A-League women's career, Talia Yunus, part of that young Matilda squad that'll head into camp March 31 with Alex Hipparchus just over a week's time. Speaking of young Matildas, well, Tiana McKenna there about to take the throw. Has been part of those squads, but she was called into the Croatian senior team at the back end of last year. Part of the squad. So decision for her to make moving forward if she plays a competitive match. Dalton, there was a lot going on there. Flag up for offside. And this is the period of the game where both coaches will be looking to their benches. What kind of impact can they produce? Wanderers, well, you've got some known quantities for Jeff Abraham, Sophie Harding, Holly Casper's on there. Goal scorers. You can see they're not sitting there on the bench. They're there in the far end of shot, just warming up. And for Perth Glory, Folletta, Ella Lincoln, goal-scoring phenomenon in the NPLW in WA. Susan Fonsong-Cam as well, who's spent a majority of the season out with injury, but she's returned after dealing with that ankle ligaments injury, which ruled her out for the majority of the year. She's warming up. Folletta there in the foreground as well. Dropping back to the bench for this one with Kelly Brown available. So at what point do they look to their bench for an impact, both of these coaches? Right now it's Cassidy riding out a couple of challenges. McKenna curls the pass out in front of Tatham. Kelly Brown with Wanderers in front of her, takes on Harrison, takes on the strike. Great save, Karmas. You would expect it from a goalkeeper of her quality, but it is excellent work from the former championship winner in this competition with Sydney FC back in 2013. The free kick given away. Dalton has been fouled on a couple of occasions, maybe just in the last few minutes. Just mentioning that to Beck Mackey. So again, opportunities knocking in this second half. Eunice, who plays that pass back to Matos, had one earlier in this second half with that header at the near post. And there Kelly Brown just wriggling and shaking and unleashing a strike to test out Champ Karmas, low to her right. And they've given it away, and Perth Glory very nearly punished them there. It was Kelly Brown again. Well, Western Sydney Wanderers fans will be wondering what happened there, because Perth Glory were off for the prize and very nearly punished Western Sydney. Look at this, Tatham, great endeavour, wins it off Harrison, and Brown will be thinking, I should have converted. Huge chance for Perth Glory. Stephen Peters looking down at the ground, wondering what might have been for his side with just over half an hour remaining. So the shots continuing to mount here for Perth Glory. They've done enough to take the lead, but it's just been the final moment for them that has let them down in this match. And it's been their issue throughout the season. It's just been that clinical finishing in the box. And Stephen Peters has realised that this season. They just may be lacking that goal scorer around the 8 to 9 goal mark this season. They've got Kelly Brown with 5, Douglas, who of course came in for a period over the summer break when she was on her holidays from teaching. But unable to play now. She scored 3, O'Donoghue 3, Holler, who's out with blood clots, 3 as well. Just looking for that player to go on and score close to double figures. Buchanan slipping it there for Silvesca. Players lining up in the middle. True is there. Rue tried to trick away past McKenna. Now, is there a substitution about to take place here for Perth Glory? It is imminent. Chris LaRue's throw. True. So we tick over the hour mark in this one. The penultimate match in match day 20 of the Ninja A-League. Adelaide and Brisbane to come tomorrow. 4:30 p.m. from Cooper Stadium. You do not want to miss that one. Adelaide still a chance at second spot. 5 points behind Melbourne victory.
For your Perth Glory, coming off number 19, Sarah O'Donoghue. Replaced by number 10, Susan Fonsonkamp.
So Fonsonkamp replacing O'Donoghue, who was somewhat blunted tonight after her double last week against the Mariners and assist. A little quieter. And Georgia Cassidy, well, she gets an hour under her belt after returning from that quad injury much earlier than expected. Just under 2 months out when everyone thought that she'd be gone for the season when she injured that back in January. So Charlie Wainwright comes into the game as well. Been playing with Perth Soccer Club in the NPLW in Western Australia last season alongside her teammate Ella Lincoln. And Charlie Wainwright, she was actually on a youth development deal, which is actually below a scholarship for Perth Glory at the start of the season. She was upgraded to a scholarship and now she's been upgraded to a full-time deal. Charlie Wainwright. Stephen Peters has been so impressed with her diligence and tenacity this season to work her way up from being a fringe squad player into the reckoning for the first team. 8 starts in 16 appearances for Wainwright this season. And Perth team made the grand final, second place on the table through the regular season and went down in the grand final. That was to Perth Red Star. Actually, the team of Caitlin Douglas, who came in, as we mentioned before, for Perth Glory. Through the January period. Look at Wainwright, strength there, one-on-one against True. Wins back possession for Perth Glory, but it's gifted to Wanderers and True. Heavy touch, just trampolined off the boot of Seveska. Don't expect that from a player of her technical ability, but maybe just a little fatigued here. It's been a warm day in Perth. Currently just below 25 degrees. Did get up around 34 degrees at 2 p.m, but it has really dropped the mercury as the sun is setting. So Karmas spotted Rue. Bounced up into the arm, did it of Wainwright. It's play on for Perth Glory, and Brown too heavy on the attempted ball in behind for Fonsonkamp. One goal for Fonsonkamp this season against Western United in March. That 3-0 win. This This will be a corner for Perth Glory. So can they turn this patience, the opportunities that they have built on this Western Sydney Wanderers defence, into a goal? Is there a reward at the end of it all for Perth Glory? The corner up towards the head of Chinnama, and there is a push in the back. And there is a whistle against Perth Glory. The corner, decent delivery right on the penalty spot there for Chinnama. And another whistle this way for Western Sydney. True. He's looked one of the more likely for Western Sydney. Crosses over the byline. You just wonder how long until we see the likes of Harding and Caspers. Caspers has been coming on sort of in the last 20 minutes when she's got her opportunity. Harding also reasonable prospect, but you can see, look at that. Compression on the right knee of Holly Caspers. Harding as well, they're warming up. They're not summoned by Jeff Abrahams as of yet. So that delivery not going to trouble Casey Dumont. Yeah, look at that. He's been in the wars this season. Holly Caspers. Missing from the opening day of the season until February with that toe issue. Toss. Did look promising, that build up down the left. Now Matos is just out of position, so Perth Glory looking to exploit that down that left edge. Fonson Cam unable to get there in front of Karmas though. Great throw into the path of Fonson Cam. And there's no one in the box though. Decent cross, no one there, and it harmlessly goes over for a goal kick. You can see Kelly Brown is further towards that right edge than the middle of the box, and that meant there was no one in the middle of the box to attack the cross. Right, knocked off balance. That is a decent ball. Tatham getting on the end of it. These chances starting to come out of nowhere. Dalton's delivery may have just brushed off the head there of Tatham. So the last 0-0 in the Ninja A-League. February 16. Brisbane Roar and Western United, 0-0 draw. Trying to summon a goal here. Both sides at Sam Kerr Football Centre. Remembering how crucial it is that 3 points is secured by both sides tonight, because a draw ends the season in terms of finals for Western Sydney, and for Perth Glory it makes it a monumental task for them. When I say ends the season for Western Sydney, yes, mathematically they'd still be a possibility, but once you're talking mathematics, it's only a matter of time before it's all over. For Perth Glory, you would say a draw tonight leaves them on 20 points. They could get to 29. Potentially it could be enough. You never know. Brisbane Roar struggling currently on 25 points, so can't say they're assured of getting there at this point. But tomorrow's match will be very intriguing in that quest. 3 points, though, will really keep their hopes alive. Perth Glory, Fonsonkamp. This cross dealt with by Harrison. And then Chisari. And well manoeuvred by Eunice from a tricky situation, but there's a Perth Glory player still down here. Tatham done a lot of running tonight. Gets back to her feet now. Stephen Peters paces his technical area. Love to know what's going through his mind at the moment. Oh, hang on a second. Is there a yellow card about to be handed out here? As this change takes place, Beck Mackey has just walked over with the yellow card. She has handed that out. It was just off screen, and we'll try and get that confirmed who that was. As Holly Caspers comes into the game, 18 minutes to go. She has been the super sub for them this season. She comes on for Bronte True. 3 goals in her last 4, Caspers. Would you believe she's Western Sydney Wanderers' 3rd highest goal scorer all time, with 8 behind Amy Harrison with 9 and Sophie Harding with 17. Harding still on the bench. Now that yellow card, we understand, is for time wasting, just trying to find out. It looked as though it was probably Zog or Chinema. That was the direction that Beck Mackey was walking. Try and get that confirmed. Comiskey and Harrison. Price nudged as she delivered that pass out to Rue. And Charlie Wainwright showed plenty of energy off the bench. Caspers wins her side to throw. She got something special again in those boots tonight, Holly Caspers. It's not just at Western Sydney where she scored some significant late goals. She scored a late equaliser from memory for Canberra. A Christmas miracle goal in that 3-3 draw with Brisbane a few years back. Canberra were down 3-1 heading into the final minutes, and then Canberra scored 2 goals very late on to snatch that 3-3 draw. And maybe here's the opportunity for Caspers, just shut down by Zog. No doubt it would have been on the tip sheet for Perth Glory today. So be wary of Caspers off the bench. So Matos now just struggling. Duel there with Johnston. Maybe just copped the knee there from Zog. Potentially just winded her. Not sure there was anything further to be concerned about. There it was, just that knee from Zog, maybe just winding Matos. So into the final 15. This is when we saw the goals between these two teams back in December. Harrison for Western Sydney in the 85th. Kelly Brown in the 96th. Buchanan just opened up for Buchanan to shoot. And that was not going to challenge a goalkeeper of Casey Dumont's quality. Kelly Brown goes through the legs of Megan Wynn, and it broke down for Perth Glory. Lovely ball out wide, utilising the speed of Grace Johnson, who drives it in, bounces up over the leg of Matos. Price tried to get it away. Wynn, Tatham urged to hit it. Wainwright as well. Johnston on the outside of Eunice. Cross is a good one, but Kelly Brown was on her heels. And it trickles to Sham Karmas. Grace Johnson. A lot of the good things that Perth Glory are doing tonight are coming from her crosses. We saw a dangerous delivery in the first half. And then again there. There's no one on the end of it in a purple shirt. Brown will get a throw out of it. And a change is on the way, so Brown just called to hold things up. And it is Ella Lincoln replacing Tian McKenna. Oh, hang on a second. No, Tian McKenna. She's just come off to pick up the football. Natalie Tatham is the player replaced. She's run herself to a standstill. And Ella Lincoln, who scored 26 goals in the NPL WA this season with Perth Soccer Club. Golden boot in that competition. She has worked her way into this Perth Glory side and now gets her 7th appearance off the bench. Scored against Newcastle in March in that 2-1 defeat. But this would be a massive moment for Ella Lincoln, the Perth junior, with their season on the line here tonight. Can they find something, the Glory, to bring the home fans to their feet? Beautiful sunset here in Perth. You could say it's a purple sunset. Does that mean something here? For Kelly Brown and her Perth Glory team. Is there something in the air for them tonight? It's Brown's delivery, it's high, it's challenging for Karmas, but she came through the pack and claims it, and now looking for the release. Kelly Brown has got back quickly. Dalton has to knock it to Dumont. And the bounce almost favoured Lincoln. Rue. And Price just too square that pass in the end and invited Perth Glory to make the interception. They've got a throw here, Western Sydney.
Well, it wasn't in the end.
So the final 10 upon us of regulation time. And still no Sophie Harding for Western Sydney. Looking to make her return from that hip injury. Hasn't played since January 31. And she's on the bench, so obviously they think she's fit enough to play. But it's not her waiting to come on, it's Capitanellis. And Kelly Brown will not track this down. What's the decision? Throw for Perth Glory, it would seem, yes. And it is Capitanellis.
Substitution for the Western Sydney Wanderers coming off number 15, Kushla Rue, replaced by number 13, Talia Capitanellis.
So Capitanellis on for her 15th appearance of the season. Kushla Rue, the player, withdrawn. Dalton trying to sneak away into the box. Capitanellis getting herself about the bounce. Well, it was misjudged by Sham Karmas. A rare mistake from the Western Sydney keeper. I'm just going to mention Talia Capitanellis, all 15 appearances for her this season off the bench. Scored a goal and grabbed an assist this year. That goal in January for Western Sydney Wanderers came against Melbourne Victory in that 4-4 draw, that crazy match down at the home of the Matildas. And they came back very late on. Kelly Brown, her cross, earns Perth Glory a corner. So it is dead still, the breeze here in Perth. Dalton is going to go short from the set piece. And what is the decision? Another corner. Western Sydney, I think they have reason to be frustrated here, because I think it did come out of Fonsonkamp last. It did. Fonsonkamp's got away with one there. In the end, maybe justice done, because there's a great interception there from Western Sydney. Johnson trying to hammer it back in towards the box. No chases for Perth Glory. It's getting to that point of the game where anywhere will do in a good area for both of these two sides. When you're at this stage of the season where it's all about the result. 3 points a must for Perth and Western Sydney tonight. This pass angled away from Zog, driving it up the line. Wynn looking a little tired there. Now Capitanellis. He cross deflects back to Caspers. Price. Away from Fonsonkamp. Olivia Price. There's a couple of Perth Glory players. Sandwiched her in there. Deflects away to Capitanellis. And the cross is powered in towards the back stick, but Talia Yunus was running more centrally.
Substitution for the Western Sydney Wanderers coming off number 10, Sienna Celesta. replaced by number 9, Sophie Harding.
So Sophie Harding back onto an inter A-League field for the first time since January 31. That hip injury suffered against Western United, replacing Sienna Silvesca. Great to have Sophie Harding returning. 3 goals for her this season, not quite the 12 of last campaign. She's Western Sydney's all-time leading goal scorer. They're defending right now, Wanderers, and it's Johnston's cross again. Excellent delivery from Grace Johnson. She just needs someone to get on the end of it. Can she find a target in the box? Grace Johnston. Here's the free kick given away by Caspers on Wainwright.
Substitution for your Perth Glory coming off number 5, Grace Johnson.
And Grace Johnston, well, some would say a little surprising that she's coming off, but maybe just a little fatigue in the legs for the 19-year-old. Another impressive showing from her. And Izzy Folletta, this is a player who can add some real impact late on. Folletta, 48th A-League women's appearance. Part of the 2022 MacArthur Rams Grand Final winning side in Stephen Peters' team in that Grand Final win over the Northern Tigers. This is placed in by Dalton. The header is on target from Naomi Chinema. This will just be a goal kick. Folletta has some pace. They utilise that late on here, Perth Glory. That right edge. Zog. Price turned away from Wynn. Harding.
Back in the middle.
Well in there from Isabel Dalton to nick the ball away from Sophie Harding and then try and release Kelly Brown, who is still going up against her MacArthur teammate in McComiskey. But McComiskey knows the threat of Brown. Is there a handball there from Folletta? Play allowed to go. Western Sydney Wanderers just minutes away from a first clean sheet of the season. First clean sheet in more than a year in the A-League Women's. And Perth Glory, their wait for a win over Wanderers here in Perth may go on for another year. 2018 was the last time that Perth beat Western Sydney in Western Australia. It has been a long wait. They actually haven't beaten Western Sydney since 2022, all told. It was in Gosford. Here in Perth, it's been an even longer wait. And Fonson Cam a little too eager there into the back of Chisari. Crunched her under the fall of the ball. Amy Harrison, one of the most experienced players on the park. 127th Ninja A-League appearance. Can she put this on a dime for a teammate? She's got some good targets, the likes of Harding and Caspers up there. She's looking for either of them. Flicked on towards Caspers at that back post. Hoofed clear by the Glory. And Chisari rode the challenge of win, but now it's Fonson-Kem going the other way for Perth Glory. Here's a real opportunity. Ella Lincoln attempting to slide it in front of Kelly Brown. There is a corner kick coming here for Perth Glory right on the 90th minute. We've got 5 minutes additional time as well, so there is more than enough time for a match winner here for either side to keep the finals dream alive. Kelly Brown's corner. It is deep towards the back post. The strike is in for Perth Glory. What a moment! And it is the super sub off the bench, Izzy Folletta. She's only been out there for a matter of minutes, and she has put Perth Glory in front. A goal which may well have saved their season. Well, it was a good delivery from Brown at the back post. It was pinball in the box. And Folletta came flying through and scores for Perth Glory. Her first goal of the season, her first since February of 2023. Almost 2 years since she last scored in this competition, and what a time to pop up and score. Can they hang on now, Perth Glory? Well, this all of a sudden makes the finals race very, very interesting. Can they seal this one? Folletta coming on for Grace Johnston in those final 5 moments. And you just thought that she could have that kind of impact. Fresh legs, good experience at this level. And a player that's made for those kind of moments. She's been a grand final winner with Sham Karmas and MacArthur Rams before. Played in some big matches in the NPL New South Wales, and this is a big stage to step up tonight and score for Perth. They're looking for the corner. Is there a free kick for Harding? It's not to be. Now it is Brown turning. No whistle. Western Sydney trying to go and find the equaliser. Their season is hanging in the balance here. If it wasn't already coming into this match, their fate is about to be sealed with a defeat tonight. Even a draw for them would likely not be enough. So they're 90 seconds away now. Perth Glory. Jeff Abraham's side fought so hard for so long. Had chances of their own. But is it about to be Perth Glory with a win over Western Sydney here in Western Australia for the first time 7 years. 2018, the last time Glory beat Western Sydney in the West. Rachel Hill scored a double that day, and Sam Kerr scored. Here they are at the Sam Kerr Football Centre. 7 years later. Stephen Peters nervously watching on. win. Delivery deflected away. Folletta chipping it forward. And it trickles over the goal line. So maybe one of the last kicks of this game from Sham Karmas. Still we go on for the moment. But they are not far away here, Perth Glory, from tasting an impressive victory full of graft, determination and tenacity here tonight. They have had to deal with a Western Sydney side who have really stuck it to them. And they've withstood everything, taken the lead in stoppage time. But still we go on here. Harding trying to chase the throw. Beck Mackey puts the whistle to her mouth. And the final stream remains a reality for Perth Glory. It didn't look that way about 5 minutes ago. But Stephen Peters' team, thanks to Izzy Folletta's stoppage time goal, her first in more than 2 years in the Ninja A-League, earns Perth Glory their first win over Western Sydney in more than 3 years, and their first over Wanderers in Perth since 2018. What a moment for Izzy Folletta. What a moment for Perth Glory. Full time at the Sam Kerr Football Centre. Glory 1, Wanderers 0. And as Isabella Folletta, you just have to get a smile on your face when you see those moments. As we have a look back at the match highlights. And these were the chances for Western Sydney. They will rue. This was a big one early on. Buchanan found Saveska. And then Grace Johnson as well. Almost similar kind of situation, that. And it was well smothered by Sham Karmas. But the chance you're about to see is the one that Western Sydney will rue. This is Brown's strike on goal, Sham Karmas, but it was a chance for True at the back end of that first half, where she was potentially going to go towards an open goal. Heavy touch, took it wide. And then in the second half, it was all Perth Glory. Dalton almost linking with Tatham there for the opening goal. And then this is the moment where finally the dam wall burst, and Western Sydney, their wait for a clean sheet this season goes on. It just sat there for Folletta and she drove it home. And you just love this reaction from Izzy Folletta. Oh, she is not going to be sleeping for a long time tonight. She'll be watching that one back. In the next 4 days coming up for the Raw. But here tonight, it is celebration time for Izzy Folletta and the